All right, special edition of Unc and Chico live right here with you. It's Big Dog Chico, Uncle Neely, and breaking news just came out right now. We have a new defensive line coach at Colorado. It is former NFL player Domata Peko, former Bengal, former Denver Bronco. He's stepping into that role now to take over for Damian Lewis, who's down in Miami now. But another great addition for Coach Prime, bringing in a former NFLer to Colorado. Uncle Neely, what do you think about that?
Man, I love this hire. I love the relationship capital of this hire. I love the connectivity of this hire. Here is a brother coming from the ranks of the NFL, another one who knows how to get there, knows what it takes to get there, knows what it takes to stay there. And just like a Rob Livingston who came to Coach Prime with some key recommendations, when you look at the staffs that he's been on, coaching the defensive line room there at Dallas Cowboys with Mike Zimmer, his time at Cincinnati as a player, even being with the Broncos, so he knows the area town. 41 years old,
Mhm.
comes with that unique experience, having played college, played NFL, has coaching experience in NFL. So again, here's another hire by Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, of bringing in somebody who's going to have direct impact on these young men, not only knowing what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to look, but can coach it and instill it in them because he's been there and done it himself. When you look at the relationship with Coach Rob Livingston, you look at having Coach Sapp still in that room, having Coach Hilo having moved up to coach the edge rushers, and now adding in Coach Pico. Like, what a wonderful defensive line and defensive room you have coming back to Colorado.
Absolutely. Like I said before, born in Los Angeles, California, grew up in American Samoa, Pago Pago, and played football at Michigan State. 2006 fourth round draft pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, played for 6 seasons under Coach Mike Zimmer, as Uncle Neely just said. And that relationship with Coach Zimmer, Coach Livingston, and Coach Prime, I think, is the reason for this hire. He was just working with the defensive tackles of the Dallas Cowboys, so he's going to bring over that former coaching experience, former player experience, and like we hinted on in the previous episodes, of him being able to expand that recruiting diameter or geographic, just being able to go to the West Coast now, not just heavy in Florida and the South and Texas and Georgia. So you got guys now that can go to these islands that we were talking about, Samoa, Tonga, even out here in Hawaii and the West Coast of California, to have a huge impact. And I think it's gonna pay dividends to bring in Coach Pico with those defensive linemen.
Yeah, absolutely. Having played, in California, being Samoan, brings all that to the table, brings that rich culture, rich history. And so now your recruiting footprint, not only expands further west in Colorado to that Los Angeles area, it expands out to the ocean with the Pacific Islanders, if you will.
Yes,
But even
indeed.
having played at Michigan State and what that means. But here's a brother who was drafted in 2006, a fourth round pick in the draft. So he
Mhm.
knows what it takes to get drafted, in a meaningful slot in the draft as well. Played at the Cincinnati Bengals, played with the Denver Broncos, Baltimore Ravens, and the Arizona Cardinals, excuse me. All that comes to pass. But here's what I love the most, man. When you talked about him playing in Cincinnati and being coached by Zimmer, when Zimmer gets the opportunity to coach the Cowboys, who does he tap? But Pico to come help him there. And so that relationship capital that says, hey, I've seen this guy as a player, I've seen him as a coach, I know what he brings to the table. He can help us change a culture and be a dominant defensive line here. And now when Coach Prime or Rob Livingston or Warren Sapp get together and huddle up on who can really help us here, who does Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime pick? Another NFLer who had a hell of a career, man. You talk about 600 plus tackles, 20 plus sacks in the NFL. He knows how to get it done. I can't wait to see what he does to this defensive line with that sap icing poured on top of it.
I was going to say, with the relationship of himself being a former defensive tackle in those trenches, did the same thing like Warren Sapp. That respect level is going to be there. I'm sure they know each other from the past. They played during the same time. So, and well respected, fan favorite at Cincinnati was Big Pico. And I just think that I'm excited because Colorado is known actually for having, a bunch of Polynesian players, good Polynesian players at that. Matter of fact, shout out to my brother-in-law. who is a former linebacker at Colorado, who's Polynesian. So uh, they usually have at least 3, 4, 5 guys on that team. So I'm excited to see what they can bring on this ball club as far as culture wise with the Polynesian players and such. Because I think any great football team has a mixture of all cultures. That's the great thing about football. Also, it's the ultimate team sport, but you have a mixture of so many cultures out there, religions, backgrounds, and things of that nature that you're all coming together for that common goal. And I think that the best teams have a mixture of all of them, and that's not by mistake, I think. So,
No, not at all. And another component what he brings to the table I love is he understands rivalries in college football and
mhm,
understands being ready for those big moments in college football. He played at Michigan State. They're playing Michigan. Chad Henne is the quarterback over there at Michigan. And who
yeah,
was it that forced a fumble and got a fumble and ran for a touchdown? Our new D line coach. And so he knows, how to be ready for those moments, maximize those moments in the biggest stages, in the biggest games. And so here's again a guy who has been there and done that at the college level where you're trying to coach these guys and also where you're trying to get them to the NFL. He knows what it takes, man.
and stay tuned. We're gonna have more from the former Bengal, 15-year NFL vet, Domata Peko. Look like it's official, like a gangster with a pistol and a referee with a whistle. That he's in the building with Coach Prime and joining his staff, and along with Coach Sapp. What you saying, Unc?
Hey, that official with a whistle that took me, man. But I'm like you, man. I encourage folks, to get to know Coach Pico and what he's done, over the past 15 years or so in his coaching and playing career. This is
Yes.
a guy who brings a lot to the tables. Maybe a lot of folks in that Colorado market will recognize him for the short stint where he was with the Denver Broncos, but also again played with the Ravens, played with the Arizona Cardinals. Most of his career being spent with the Bengals where he was drafted to play, where he had his
Hmm.
biggest impact. So I'm just looking forward to it, man. He's got a brother that played in the NFL,
Yes.
cousins that played in. Man, you know how the Samoans
Of
roll.
course.
It's always
Of
deep.
course.
Yeah, it's always deep. And then what I love most recently, you know where he was. You know where he was. You know where he was. He was with Zimmer with the Cowboys. So coming from the Cowboys and now over to the Colorado Buffaloes. When everybody was saying that Coach Prime was going to the going to the Dallas Cowboys, Coach Prime brought somebody from the Cowboys to him. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it, Chico. Chico and Pico, it kind of rhyme, man. Can't wait to get
Chico
y'all.
and Pico. What's up, Big Oos out there? I think also, Unc, you said that his former coach brought him to coach with him. My former college coach brought over Big Sam Williams, who played defensive tackle for us at UAB, to coach with him once he moved on to Tennessee Tech, and he stayed with him for years. I think he just got a job now with the Falcons the last couple of years. Point I'm trying to make is usually head coaches, if they bring on a former player to join their staff, that shows you the character of that player and what the coach thinks of that player. He's not going to bring along anybody. You see, he bring along. No, just playing. He gonna bring
No,
along anybody.
no, but
No, I didn't want to go on.
you're
I didn't
absolutely
want to go
right.
on. I didn't want to go
Yeah,
on.
no, you're absolutely right, Chief. I appreciate the humor directed at yourself, but you're absolutely right. A
Yeah.
head coach has to get it right. So a head coach is going to rely on people that he can trust. And how do
Hmm.
you build trust? It means you know what that person does when they're in certain situations and circumstances. And
Right.
so for Zimmer to have coached the Bengals in this brother when he played, and then when it's time to find somebody to help him coach, he picked a player that he had coached before. I think that is a hell of a testimony, a hell of a statement about what he brings to the table and can do. And you look at what he did as a player in college, look what he did as a player in the NFL, look at the impact he's had in coaching and who staffs people who vetted him and wanted him around. I think all that speaks volumes, particularly to Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and his ability to pick up the phone and in short order find somebody with the coaching experience and the ability to connect to player experience to bring them into this defensive room, particularly for the defensive line, again, with that sap icing on the top and that helo technical analysis stuff on the outside,
Mm.
telling you that this Colorado defense is poised to be number one again in the Big 12.
Once again, the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime adding former fourth round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals and current defensive line assistant coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Domata Peko, to the staff as the defensive line coach, head coach on that line. He's going to be working with, of course, Coach Livingston, Hilo, and Sap once again. Unc, can you give us a preview of some of the stuff you might be doing with Pico, like the exclusive type things, interviews or things of that nature? Any plans already?
This is a hire I've known about for some time, and Coach Prime wanted it, kept under wraps to all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. And so, in solidarity to that relationship and the trust I have with Coach Prime, we've done just that. But now it is time to let the world know it's official. And so now that it is official, we'll be doing a sit down with Coach Pico and get to know him segment and his coaching style, his philosophy. Really, a lot of that is going to start taking place in March, because although he is now on scene in Boulder, this still being February, is more strength and conditioning. And so he'll be watching those workouts, getting to know his players, watching watching them in the weight room. But really, none of the football stuff is going to start till it's football time with that first practice, March 11th. So we'll take y'all inside the team meetings, take you inside his D-line meeting, take you inside some of those workouts. So it'll always be more exclusive content to come on the pregame network, Unc and Chico Live, as well as Big Dog Chico's channel. And just keep in mind, there may be people out there who try to leak stuff first, but when you want it accurate, right, you know where to find it. The pregame network, Unc and Chico Live.
Already. And before we go, he's going to look the part. I'll tell you that much. He's going to look like a D-line coach. And he's known for, a lot of people might ask, I'm just going to put the picture up, but he's known for having that big long mane back in the day, like who Troy Polamalu was known for. A lot of the Samoan players were known for having that long mane. So he was one of them on the Bengals squad, on that defensive line squad. So shout out to Coach Pico, and we're excited to see what's going to be coming. Y'all leave a comment, questions in the chat right now. Let us know also where you're checking in from, where you're getting this info, the best in-depth insights of Coach Prime. What you about to say?
I'm sitting here reading a text when you talk about looked apart. When Coach Prime texted me about him some time ago, said this is the direction we're going in when it all works out. He's good in a former pro who coached Pro Bowl and played a long time as well. I told Coach, I said, I remember him. I remember that hair hanging out the back with the Bengals. And I said, ... He sure looked apart. And so when you said looked apart, that reminded me of our text exchange, because that's the exact words I had to Coach Prime when he told me about this hire. I said, man, if nothing else, he looked apart.
Most definitely. Shout out to Big Oos and all the Usos out there. Y'all know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe, comment. Gonna be up and about this thing. Peace in the Middle East. Stay tuned for more. Yeah.